Okay, streaming. So hey everyone.
Yeah. So before we start, I just want to say that this webinar is recorded as a part of weekly fasting group, and we are an international group of people who fast every week between 24 and 36 hours. And if you want to join this group, there will be my WhatsApp number. You can just send a message, send a WhatsApp message. It's a WhatsApp international group, and then we will add you there very happily. And today the subject is marriage, romantic relationships, communication in general. And I have chosen this subject because I think that people who fast, they are more likely to take responsibility for their lives in general. They understand that they need to take responsibility, that you cannot be truly healthy if you only treat your body, that many other areas need improvement in our lives. So, and family, romantic relationships, communication in general is very important realm to be handled and to be improved pretty much for everyone. And today we have Anna, who is a specialist in this area, and she's going to enlighten us on this subject. So Anna, please do. Thank you for coming.
No precious. Thank you for such a great introduction. Oh my goodness. Yeah, maybe we can just go like you ask some questions, so we go from the topics and we have a conversation. Um, but I've noticed it's very difficult for me because I always work like hands-on with the problems and with couples. It's not like unusual for me to just talk non-stop without any feedback. So maybe we can have some like ask me questions and let's have a discussion about it, and I'll put my 5 cents in it, and then we'll maybe that will help. But to like reflect what you said, I think you are right. And as we start cleansing our body and we start making some more conscious decision about our body, our emotional mind and emotional field start also cleansing, and we expand our worldview and the view of like our surrounding, and we want to develop and create more harmonious relationship, more balanced relationships. So I do think that, I mean, it's a hot topic anyway, but hopefully in a fasting community, it's something that people value and they try to maybe gear toward.
Good. So I would ask, I guess you get this situation from many of your clients, something like in the beginning of the relationship, there were sparks and love, this feeling of love and attraction towards each other. And then as when they get married or start living together, and as the time goes on, there is more coldness, less communication, less attraction, and for many people, that's how it starts falling apart. So what kind of factors should be noted?
Say that
What
again.
kind? Yeah. What kind of factors should be noted that would combine that if we handle them properly, the relationship would be better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from the beginning, I think a lot of hormones and the chemicals like kind of play a huge role in our body, and we get like we'll fall in love. And what I've noticed, the tendencies are to see what we want and not what it is. We have tendencies not to pay attention to some things that we don't necessarily like, and really hyper some like qualities that a little bit there, but we think they in like a greater quality. So and then we think maybe with time those qualities can grow, and then the qualities that we don't like, they just kind of like disappear. Also in the beginning, we all in our best behavior, right? We want to like show our good selves and the kindness, and we looking to forming a relationship, like especially when the two people looking into forming a relationship, and they kind of get tangled into playing roles and not being true to themselves because they're scared to lose that person. And as a result of that, like when relationships form, they form on this base of, like, for the lack of a better word, like on the base of lie. Not intentional kind of a spiteful lie, but more of this fearful place. I'm so afraid to be by myself. I'm so afraid to be alone. I'm so afraid that you're going to see my shadows. And in that case, I'm going to hide my shadows. I'm going to be in my best behavior. And it's coming from the other person too. Like if it's mutual and they, oh, like I want to like this person, and this person have almost all these things on the list, and we're not going to even pay attention to the other things. So that's a lot of times, like I see relationship form like that. Not, I think like later on in life, it's more conscious and we are more like aware of ourselves. But at the beginning is what happens. And when we have that like recipe, a lot of times it's a recipe for disaster. And maybe 2 3 years things are still good, like people adjusting. About 4 or 5 years you'll see more fights, or there's some affairs happen. But then like kids usually come around that time as well, and it's kind of too late, and like you don't want to break the family because you have children, and it's kind of that snowball. That's what I see a lot. And when people get to me, it's usually like 5 years too late. So to kind of unwind that and go from like the start, like where do we start? What do we do to form the relationship that are more conscious, where we feel more fulfilled, and also we don't twist the other person into us. Like I think would be important to first identify what's important to you. Like, well, no, let's back up. Identify who you are and be okay with who you are. So if you, I don't know, if you like pizza and watching football and drinking beer every Saturday, like find somebody who also would enjoy that with you and would value that. And that would be your thing, right? If you don't watch TV and you on like vegan or plant-based diet, and you like run every morning and do yoga every night, that's probably not going to be a good combination, no matter how you twist. So identifying who you are and being okay with who you are, and looking at some of the darker spots, like maybe you have some sad parts where you feel lonely, and being okay with that parts of yourself. It's very important, because how can you share that with other person if you're not okay with those parts of yourself? Then what happens in a relationship, we start manipulating. We start on communicating like passive aggressively, because when we are so afraid to say it directly. So knowing who you are and knowing your needs is very important. Being able to say, hey, when I come home, I feel so tired, and when I see you on a computer, I feel so left out, and all I want you to just come and hug me and hold me for like 10 minutes and tell me that everything is okay and you're here for me. Because when I see you on a computer, I feel like rejected, I feel abandoned, and all my like fears come up, and then I start looking for things that's wrong, and I start talking about dishes and stuff, but really it's not about dishes. It's about my needs and my longings. So being able to know those longings and being able to identify those longings and being able to actually have a courage to say that to the partner, that would be a huge step. Basically, that's the bottom line. That's what I work with a lot when the couples come. one person like is in their own fears of being rejected, and they get into the habit of pleasing and walking on eggshells and trying to do everything is right, and the other person feels left out and feels the other person doesn't care about them, and they feel abandoned, and they yell and they get louder and they poke, and that's how arguments grow. So so being true to self is basically, and being able to express that to other person is like a first step. And then the second component would be, of course, when you're in a relationship, it takes two. So you can do all the growth and all the awareness and all the consciousness and talk to the person from the bottom of your heart. But if there is no, like, if you're on a different like wavelengths, like all the other person might hear is blame, blame, blame. And they would not hear your vulnerability. They would not hear what you're really trying to say. So the second part is very important, that you kind of together at the same like pace. So thinking about it this way, on like the other person has to be able to also identify the needs, the longing, and feel comfortable and trust the partner enough to share the needs and longing, and to share, like when you come home and then you start saying the dishes are not done, I fold, I go into my shell, and I start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not enough, there's nothing I can do to please you, and I'm so scared to lose you, this is so important for me, but I don't know how to tell you this. And I just like, I'm thinking like, there's nothing I can do to satisfy you, and I shut down. So that's usually the thing. So like the opposite of that would be to develop the trustworthy relationship where we can really open up the vulnerability, and that's how like intimate emotional intimacy develop. So I don't know, that's my answer. Long one.
Good, good. So what would be the practical steps if a person finds themselves in this kind of situation with this gap in trust, in communication, and let's say a person, a wife or a husband, one of the spouses want to take responsibility for the situation, to correct it, to get to a good place. So as a therapist, what would you recommend them to do? Or what would you recommend both spouses to do if it's possible?
Mm-hmm. So in my like in my office, I teach them, like we identify the cycle, and we identify each person attachment styles. So you can I can probably forward some of the attachment styles into the groups. There's like the cards, actually they're pretty great. I don't want to go through them right now, but each attachment style has the characteristics, and each attachment style has like what to do, how to like talk to that person, and how to communicate with that person based on the attachment styles. So attachment styles is something that we form in the childhood. It's a coping mechanism that we develop as a kid. So for instance, if you experience as a kid parents that were like arguing a lot, you might grow up in the fear of like, what can you do to make it better, or it's your responsibility to get it, or that. And then you are used to staying in your room by yourself, comforting yourself. So that will grow into your adulthood, probably when you get through the difficult situations, overwhelming emotionally, you would go to your room, or you shut down, you push people away, and that might look like you yelling and screaming and calling names, and canceling on your social gatherings because you don't know how to be with yourself in this uncomfortable place. Nevertheless, you can share that uncomfortable place with other person. So that's like just one example of attachment style. So I will try to find those they're great. Like, I talk about each of them and forward that into a group, and we can maybe add the link to the videos as well. But identifying attachment styles for each partner and actually talk about it. Like I found couples don't talk. They talk about dishes and groceries and what to eat. They don't talk about sex, money, and emotions. Um, so talk, go through them and see, okay, I see myself like this, I see myself like this. um One thing that happens in the office that maybe if you're not as escalated, when people come to me, they a lot of times, like I said, it's 5 years too late. And they're so escalated, they are like seated on a pain, they're so inflamed, and in that place it's very hard to make any sort of communication. But when you're not defensive, when you calm down, and when you have a purpose of like, hey, let's identify those attachment styles, where we are, where we stand, each of us, what our needs are. So that would be the first step, to identify that. Then it's the second step, what I do, like also in office, it's identify the relationship loop. It's the infinity loop. And it's I know, like a very simple way of like thinking about it would be when husband comes home from work, he's tired and he feels miserable or whatever, something happens, right? And then he yells or screams, he gets angry, right? He gets mad. So he communicates the anger, and its anger is about something. But when the wife or the other partner hears the anger, what happens to the partner? They feel scared, right? They feel like they did something wrong. They start questioning themselves. They start like their fears of being rejected come up, and they start maybe saying, being defensive and saying, they're doing something else and with the kids all day, and they can't, like they get into that tangle. Like they don't talk about what actually bothers them. They talk about like a very surface thing. So that triggers her insecurities, and she gets defensive, and or she shuts down. Like she will react somehow to his emotion. First, it would be that bottom line, the fear, what is very hard to identify. But if you're honest to yourself, it's always sadness and fear. It's about something. We said about like afraid to be lonely, afraid being rejected, afraid being left out of some sort. Like it takes several sessions for some people to actually admit that. But the bottom line is that. And so we don't get that, like because we're so afraid of that, our reaction is to protect us from it. So we're gonna say, oh no, 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 I'll clean up, or like, whoa, look at you, you just come home. Like we attack or we like push back, but we react somehow to continue with that, right? And when, like, for instance, the wife reacts in a way of, well, look at you, you just come home and like I've been with the kids all day and you're yelling at me and this is not fair. So what happens to the husband at the same time? He's already tired. He had some needs that he did not communicate it properly. He communicated with anger, and now it's not accepted in a way like he thought he would want it. He wanted to hear everything is okay. There's nothing to worry about. I got you. I got your back. I care for you. I love you. That's of course not going to happen when you come to like attack somebody. So he feels like she doesn't care, or he feels that he's not important. He feels disregarded. He feels like he's not on a radar. Like he can feel all kind of ways. That will trigger another reaction of like anger, or him being loud, or him shutting down. So we identify this cycle, like we in the office, but you can do it by yourself, sitting home if you have a partner. There's actually a book, I think it's called like Hold Me Tight, and it has a workbook to that. But they have those 7 conversations, how to talk to each other. But identifying the cycle, like seeing yourself from kind of zooming out and looking at the argument, basic argument, like when the couples come, I ask them, just explain to me one argument. I don't need every argument that you went through. I don't need what happened through the week, nothing. I just need one argument, like to understand what the water made of. You don't need a sample for the whole ocean. You just need a one drop. So if I have a one argument, most of the time we can identify and mop out the cycle. So if you're able to identify the cycle, that's your cycle between two people, right? So that would be this next step. After that, what happens is you identify your own needs and your own cycle. What happens to you? What happens when you really see these dishes? It's not about the dishes. It's not what happens to you when you see him on a phone. Oh, you feel abandoned. You feel left out. Okay, what happens? Like, what have you tried telling that? No, we say it in some, oh, you're always on the phone. You can never be with me. Your games are more important, right? Way I talk. We don't say it, hey, you are so important. I miss you so much. When you're on the phone, I feel like you not with me and I feel left out and I miss you. We don't say that. So, like, if we can connect to our true needs and true longing and then communicate that with the partner, then see what the partners say. It might not land well because what happens, especially like again, when two people are conscious, it's easy. I have like couples that like they work so hard and they want to get better and they both working, they're reading outside and they see the cycle and they see themselves and they're like, oh, okay, is that what you're trying to tell me? Yes, sure, like I understand. You're not attacking me. I'm not feeling like you just expressing your feelings, but that doesn't happen. 99% of the time when you say that, what happens to your partner, they get defensive because they feel like you're attacking them. And again, it's two people, right? It's about the second person. Are they doing their own work? Can that person say, what happens? I'm here on the phone. I'm searching for a future vacation. She doesn't know about it, but that's what I want to like surprise her. And I'm looking through Airbnb and we're going to have a getaway next weekend. And she comes to me screaming that I'm doing something wrong. I feel attacked. I feel it's not fair. I feel like I don't even want to do anything. I want to just shut down. And I shut down. I yell at her of like, well, I feel not good enough. Maybe even like brush it off or something. And I shut down. I say, something irrelevant to how I feel. But how I really feel is not important. That is not fair, right? I'm not good enough, inadequate, all of these things. So all of that comes out. So as a couple, then like, I always, when I work with the individuals, I always say like, we can only control things between the stimulus, the situation happening, and our response. That time is only what we control, right? Sometimes, or in the beginning, we can like stimulus happen, response happen, then we think about it. Maybe it'll happen simultaneously and then maybe it'll happen in between later. So as a couple, can you work together as a team on your cycle? Can you identify the cycle? It's not about whose fault it is. You both have triggers. You both have history of some sort of childhood I want to say trauma, like, but don't think about trauma as like a harsh word, just childhood experience that shape us in who we are, so we react accordingly. And can we look at it from like outside, step away from our own ego and not protect like whose pain is more, and look at it as a cycle and look at it what's happening to us when we get tangled in that cycle, we get trapped in a cycle. Can we zoom out? Can we see ourselves from a little bit from the step And can we communicate what's happening with us in the moment honestly? Not like, well, but you brought the dishes and you did not take the trash. And I mean, that's not communicating the feelings, right? Just that's just like floating out float. Like that's the anger. Yes, anger talks to us. It's anger is reactive emotion. Anger is um response to some sort of pain. Anger is comfortable to show, but it's not what's happening, what is really happening, who is a driver. So maybe that would be, I mean, it's very hard, but that would be the my like scheme, and continue talk about it, continue um be like conscious about these kind of things that's happening.
Very interesting. So what to do if we have a couple and both spouses are on a different level in relation to their communication skills? For example, if a woman wants to really open her heart to her husband, to really express her emotions, but the husband really gets defensive, and but on the other hand, they do want to preserve the family. So is there anything in between that she could do or he could do if it's a man finds himself in this situation?
That is tough. Yeah. It's what comes to my mind right now. It's the same as if one is plant-based vegan and the other one eats meat every time. What can you do? I, I mean, there's not a lot of options. The option A is to accept that's how it is, to um, understand your own cycle, understand your needs. And if you decide, that everything else working for you, just this doesn't work, maybe get um those needs that intimate closeness, emotional intimacy, that's the word I'm looking for, somewhere else, like with a friend or in a discussion group or like a book club or something, so you don't feel left out and alone. Also understanding and being patient to his defensiveness, knowing so it's less equal relationship like we're talking about, right? We're talking about um if you start understanding where he's coming from, like being kind of patient, so you're asking for like he can't do the same for you a lot of times. Maybe one day he could, but overall, like it would be maybe like I wouldn't put any expectations to that. So try to maybe find that need met somewhere else, and being understanding of where he's coming from or she's coming from, where the defensiveness comes from, and being understanding of that and not expect um, anything in return, because when we have expectations, then we have disappointment, then we feel hurt and rejected and all of that, and all of the commercial will come out. So but overall it's not easy situation to be, and unfortunately there's a lot of marriages like that. But like if you want to still preserve it, and it's totally doable, it's just like you have to understand like maybe there's other qualities of that person that you um like and you're okay with, and if you feel unsatisfied and unfulfilled, I'll try to find a place to fill that void elsewhere and not look at it for it from your partner, and not get mad about it.
So it might be something like a social club or talking to a friend or something like that.
Yeah, like
Mm,
discussions, like practices, therapy is great, like
wonderful,
group therapy is great too, anything, yeah.
wonderful. Okay, so my next question, what happens oftentimes in the beginning, couples are quite compatible with each other, but then one of the partners either either changes their diet or starts fasting or adopts some other kind of another lifestyle or goes on the spiritual path, and their spouse doesn't do that. And then there's particular gap in terms of awareness, in terms of consciousness, in terms of habits, lifestyle in general. So from your practice, which advice would you give to this kind of couples?
Yeah, so again, two options: to stay or to leave, right? So, if you decide to kind of conserve, like keep the relationship, everybody have their own path. We are like, we only responsible for, 3 feet or like a meter around us. We cannot make anybody do anything. Like when we try to do that, we're gonna get disappointed. There's expectations, there's that anger, there's frustration, and then we're gonna be miserable. And then is it really the spiritual path that you're trying to look for? Right? So the only thing you can do is by example, and hope that one day, or not even hope. I won't even hope. I would just say, it's fine. I'm doing this. This is important for me. Adjust, because anytime you're changing and you get on a spiritual path and you start changing your diet and you start changing your lifestyle, the other person gets uncomfortable. It's like the attraction. Oh my gosh, you were with me drinking coffee every morning and eating pastry while we were watching our favorite show, and now you want to do what? Like, there's gonna be that too. Or I have a friend. She recently finished also the Cascade with me, and her partner, the whole time, the whole month, he was like, like, what are you doing? You're gonna die. The people are like, so like, be like, so there'll be like tension, right? So for you, you can change it. Remember that you can only be a boss of yourself. You cannot be a boss of other person, not even your kids. Okay, you can expose kids to the healthy lifestyle and to healthy food, but you cannot force them to do anything. And then let go the expectations and do your thing. There's got to be other things that you still enjoy together. And if you can accept that, like again, if we're talking about, can you accept that? Can you really live with that person? They have other wonderful qualities that, like, that you enjoy about them, the support, and um, share that. It doesn't have to be food, it doesn't have to be meditations. It can be walks together, or movies together, or some gardening projects together, or some home improvement projects together, or some travel together. Um, Maybe there's some literature that you still enjoy together. So try to conserve that which you have together, and then when you have something independent, if you feel like talking about it, talk about it. But I wouldn't try to convert anybody to anything. Like, it's not fair to you, because you're gonna get into the wall of judgment, misunderstanding. People will say you're in a cult and all of these things, and it's not fair to other people, because they have a free will to choose, and everybody have their own path. And who are we to decide for that?
Yeah, that's right. So again, it gets back to communication, to establishing good communication.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like not being afraid and not being scared to say where you are, and not being afraid to be rejected.
yeah, yeah. And do you have, in this regard, do you have any special advice when the subject is education or health or diet of the kids, like when there is particular disagreement in this area, or it would be just exactly the same advice?
Ah, it's even harder question situation for sure. So I can only share my own, I think. Okay. because it's very difficult. Like, again, it's so situational. Like, who has a stronger personality? Who has, like, you don't want to go against the group, but it's also like, for me, like, if I imagine right now, if I would have a partner who want to eat hamburgers and hot dogs every night and drink beer and order pizza on Friday, I would have a hard time with it, not because he's doing it, but because, like, then my kids will see it. Not that they don't see it in other ways, but then I try to teach them. So as far as the kids go, it's hard. When you live together, I think it's important to have balance. It's important to provide them with options and educate them. So if you're the one on the spiritual and healthy path, what can you do? You can, depending on the age of the children, right? Like, I'm like, my daughter, my youngest one, is 4 now, and I'm talking to her on, I've converted my house to vegan just maybe a few months ago. Finally, like, pulled the plunge and did it. Um, Regardless of my own, like, dietary preferences, now I don't, like, even bring anything in the house. And but she goes places where she still drinks the milk and she still eats, like, stuff that I don't exactly bring it to my house. Um, so as my 2 older kids, they eat whatever when they're not with me. And I'm not, oh, I can educate them. I can tell them, like, my personal, like, we're not, like, you're not a cow baby, so you don't need maybe cow milk particularly. When you were a baby, you had mommy's milk, and now we have other things. And then I talk to my other kids maybe, like, about natural way of, like, now I converted my cats into, like, a raw food as well. And we talked about how, like, cats don't cook their food, right? They, like, never in the planet do you see animals cook their food. So they just, like, catch, like, a mouse or a bird, and they eat it, and then just eat, like, some, like, grass with that, and they're good to go, right? So going back to the more natural style, and the same for, like, us, it's so more natural to eat some fruits. And I always have so many, like, fruit choices at home. And it's funny, like, we used to buy, like, years ago, ice cream, and now every now and then they would ask me to buy ice cream. So it was like a couple of weeks ago, we were driving back from Botanical Garden, and I promised them ice cream. I was, like, they did something they didn't want to do, so I bartered with them. So I buy, like, small one. It's a big family, small ice cream. And I bought, like, 4 packs of blueberries, and they were so excited about blueberries they forgot even about ice cream. Okay, so like, give them these choices, give them this opportunity, and the kids will decide. They're so natural to learn. They if your partner eats pizza and hot dogs, sure, like, you want them to connect, they want to connect in that regard, sure. Make sure they get plenty of, like, good stuff before. Maybe they eat a little bit of, like, whatever, and it's good to go. It's not like, our body is amazing. We cleanse. Don't, like, get from, like, one swing to another, because it's gonna, like, if you push too hard, like a spring, is gonna bounce back and it's gonna, like, be a disaster. So don't make a big deal. In other words, like, look at it lightly. If you wanna have a harmonious relationship, um, like, I lived for 14 years with a person who ate everything and I didn't. And, he cooked for himself and he made his little prep stuff, and I did my own stuff. And, he, there never, like, was a point of a disagreement. He kind of, like, joked about my but lovingly, like, very acceptingly. I think when there's no animosity on, like, either part, then I think it's very important. Like, what often I see, especially in, like, American, that's why I don't even like to call myself vegan, because vegan, a lot of vegans, like, so angry and so, like, against this and for that, and just let it go, just chill. I think if people chill, everybody will be much happier and in a better place.
Mm,
I don't know.
amazing, amazing, very interesting. So my next question is mostly for people who want to establish, who are not in relationships yet, and they want to establish successful relationship. During the dating stage, when we get to know a person, what how what would you recommend to note or to pay attention to in terms of just to make sure that you are compatible with this person? So what kind of advice would you give to a person who wants to establish good relationship and they're right in the beginning?
Hmm. Yeah, that is very tricky. I think from like what I said at the beginning, like being true to themselves is very important, and listen to yourself. Um, a lot of times I see like again like breathe and take some time. Um, I don't really have like a good advice. Like maybe like a little bit of everything. Like in a dating, like just like meeting people. I mean, there's the playfulness and it's all fun and know what you want from a relationship. Like exactly because nowadays like I find there's so many variations. There's not like a before we all kind of got together, got married, had children, lived together, died together, ate, done, right? Now there's so many variations of like connections and what people want, and if you want a monogamous relationship and you want to have a household together and that's what you're looking for, make that clear for yourself and look for that. And if you meet somebody who just kind of casually dating, don't think you're going to convert them. Like it's again, it's not up to you. Like if that's what they want, you're going to just be there for disappointment. I mean, if like they said something like that and then they change it, it's different. But like really listen to yourself and to them, and maybe even have a friend to balance your ideas and your experience with, because a lot of times we get into our own chemistry and we get into our own head and we like jump into it so quickly without realizing what just happened, and then 5 years later and 3 kids later we're like, what? So paying attention to self and be true to yourself. I don't have any more advices. It's so difficult. Like I'm in part of several groups where people date, and it's harder. Like the more I find, the more in the conscious like developed level you are, like spiritually and cognitively and intuitively, it's harder to find like that true partner, I think. And it's my experience. It's much easier, I think, to find a partner when you like in this like simple. Like I think about 2 or 3 years ago, I was saying to myself, it would be much easier if I would be eating cheeseburgers and hot dogs and pizzas and drinking beer, because I would go out to the breweries and watch sports and find a bunch of people who are also interested in that and connect with them. Like it's very hard for me to connect because I have a little bit of education and I always grow and I always like do experiments, and it's very hard to find that. But knowing who you are and what you want, and also clearly communicating that with other person, and looking for someone comfortable in your body, because your body will show that something is wrong and that something is not um feeling good, then honor that. I think that's important.
Hmm, very, very interesting. Are there any subconscious patterns of behavior or speech that, according to which we could know, for let's say if the person is saying the truth, or whether they really mean what they say, because people may say many things during the dating period, but then, as you mentioned, they change. So are there any, you could say, tricks or anything like that, maybe in terms of the vocabulary the person is using, etc., something, or is there anything like that?
Yeah, so before I go, maybe think about that, I want to say everything that you see around is your mirror of your own fears. So if you're afraid of this or whatever, like you probably will see that appear to your life. So actually working with that would be the first step. It's kind of like interesting. I have several clients, and one of them, he been trying to date for, and every time he goes on this dating site, he comes back and he's just so frustrated and disappointed. He's like, I don't know, they all wanted my money. Like anybody I talk to, like week or two passes, and sure enough, they need help with rent, they need help with their cell phone bill, they need help with something, and then he, and I think it's that like trust and like his own blocks and fears that kind of attract that kind of people. So as we grow, as we work on our fears, as we identify our own patterns and we work through them, we will attract a more harmonious and balanced people into our life, and our surrounding will change. So that's one thing. And with that, also, as you work through it and you meditate, and your hypothalamus gets like more like used to, your intuition will grow, and you'll be able to identify things. But just a simple if they talk too much but they don't do the walking, it's probably not a good thing. If they talk bad things about the exes, probably not a good thing. I mean, it's characterizes them about how they were or how they think about the exes. And I mean, if I was with the person for whatever time and now I talk shit about them, it talks highly about how I am as a person. Like, why would I even be with the person that I talk about like negatively so much, right? So like I wouldn't do that. If let's see. Also, like I look at the relationship like a family dynamic and relationship with the mother and the father and how they talk about it. Maybe they had difficult childhood and not so like fulfilling or good and growth relationship, but are they work through that now as adults? Okay, so they might not have relationship because for whatever reason the other party doesn't like, not available or doesn't want it or not there, but do they have a peace about it? So I would look at that, and like siblings also, like are there friendship, and how like just kind of observe that, like if it gets, but at the beginning like talking a lot or making a lot of plans or jumping into like you know, we on like a couple of dates and now you're talking about us going to Paris, unless we got together with the purpose of traveling together, that would be a different thing. But something like when it's taken too far and taken like too much to the extreme, like you would feel it in your stomach. So like again, listening to your body, but like those also I would probably be maybe careful with if they overshare about their past. Like you want to know maybe some general, you know, like if they were married, they had kids, you know, had girlfriend, long-term relationship. But if they go into details about how things were and how they were and what they were eating and how they went bed, and I'm like, gosh, why are you like still not with that person? So, but then again, so those things I would definitely be aware of as you're dating, and communicate that, like talk about it, like, hey, you know, I've noticed that for we've been talking 5 weeks and you've been telling me that we're gonna go and see this wonderful play, my favorite play, and um I don't know. I wonder what's happening. So that's.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very, very interesting. So my next question is again in relation to the people who don't have relationship yet and who look for relationships. Um, so there is this kind of advice, especially coming from people who work with law of attraction and things like that, that you should precisely identify exactly what you're looking for in your partner, make a list, really make this intention that exact this person will get into your life. But on the other hand, there are other approaches that are much more flexible that say something like you just have to think in general what kind of person you're looking for and then stay open-minded. So what would you recommend in this realm?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Be careful what you wish for, because wishes come true. And when we are so precise about it, we might like overlook something, or so it's, I guess, your choice as a person. So when we like create a list and it comes true, we might overlook something, and it comes in a package. And it's like, oh, all of the 100 things that I've thought about there. So it's 200 that I didn't think about also there. What do I do now? Like, and we, like, again, going back to the beginning, have a tendency to like, oh my gosh, this is my one, right? And we fall right into it, and we see it, and we think about, like, we have expectations, and then we ignore the 200 points that we don't really want in our life. So personally, I wouldn't be so, like, I would think more about your own experiences. If you do any kind of visualization about like your own experiences and where you want to be and how this person makes you feel, um if like a house and a family is important, I would generally kind of create that feeling again, but not like in terms of like a person, and just maybe asking for the right person for that situation. If, again, be careful what you wish for. Maybe that's not what you want. I always get what I want. It's scary, but and it might be like a good thing for us, like, but it can be like, oh my gosh, I did thought about it, and yes, indeed it's here, and indeed, what do I do now? So so be careful, like, definitely identify what your needs are, and is that what you want before you start like creating any manifestations into the universe. And probably being more general, it's, in my personal opinion, better, because then you don't end up with like a 200 points that you didn't ask for. I don't know. And asking maybe like to have what's best for you. Yeah, great question. Don't know the answer.
Okay, thank you so much. And my other question is actually for people who do have relationships. If you have a partner and your partner in a particular pattern of behavior presses your buttons, like really, really annoys you. Like a partner might be great, but there is something that he or she is doing that you just cannot bear it. So what would you recommend in such case?
Oh, also a great question. So, the buttons, the triggers, they're yours. They're not him. Okay, so there's an amazing book, I think, Mastery of Love by Toltec. Very thin, very user friendly, like amazing way that it explains those buttons. But those are the scars, and the best way that I always explain them to people is when you think about a cut, right? So when you have like a wound on your arm, and if it's a scar and it's healed, and when you touch it you don't feel it, then no buttons, right? But when it's a scar and it's infected, right, it's infected and it's oozing, and you try to, like, when you even like cross like the doorway, you try not to touch it. When you cross like people, you try not to touch it, and then somebody like comes, and every time they come around, they just smash on this pain point. It so hurts so much. Those your stuff that the person that next to you is kind of amplifies, like under the microscope, and then like it feels like you have so much of that. So my suggestion is look within, identify your own triggers, understand that it's not them that making you feel miserable and making you angry and doing whatever things you think they're doing to you. It's them actually helping you to identify your scars, your wounds, so you can heal them, you can attend to them, and you can grow from that. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so we're getting closer to the end of this program. I wanted to ask specifically because the people who are going to watch this video are into fasting lifestyle. They're members of this fasting group. So during when we do our fasting, especially prolonged fasting, then we have sometimes emotional ups and downs. Sometimes we want to be by ourselves. Sometimes just different phenomena. So what would be your advice specifically for people who are into fasting lifestyle to how to not let it damage the family, how to combine this fasting lifestyle with successful family life or successful relationships?
I don't know. It's a tricky one. I think it depends on the family dynamic and openness of relationship on overall. So some might be more open with, like, if the only one person into fasting and the rest of the family is not. Do you communicate with them about where you are and what you're doing? Many people choose not to say anything, and that's also one way of doing it, because you don't get this bzz, bzz, bzz from the family, and you more. There's more chance that you like complete your journey and be more successful with it. So staying to yourself is one of the options. If you choose to share with your family, like choose carefully, um, so they understand and they don't like be negative about you and your experience. Again, my personal idea, like I think it's the, like if you don't think you're going to be supportive in your experience and you have like some negative feedbacks about it, it would make it harder, the process. And with that, it might be easier not to say anything and just kind of like, oh, I just ate, oh no thank you, yeah, like just kind of like not like nonchalant kind of thing. You don't have to go with the announcements, oh, I'm on a 48-hour flat, blah blah, like everybody gonna be what, not drinking, not eating, you're gonna die. Like don't make a big deal about it. I think that would be easier than I lost myself. Like, did I make sense?
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So either just to
Oh,
decide. Okay, yeah, sorry.
I remember your like other part of the question that I was going to answer, the emotional, like, and have your own practices. I think I've talked about it previously. What makes it fill your cup? Okay, so for me personally, it's exercise 100%. If I don't do my bike rides or walks or runs or rollerblading or whatever, like I am not okay. Yesterday, it was raining. I went with my bike twice out and back, and I was so frustrated. By 5 o'clock, I'm like, I don't care if it's raining. I'm gonna go for a walk because otherwise, some hair's gonna come off. Not literally, but I was like, so like, this is how I get okay. This is how, like, know how you get okay. So walking, exercising, doing yoga, pranayams, breathing, meditations, what fills your cup. If you need to go into the bathtub and soak yourself with your favorite essential oils and listen to relaxed music, do that. Remember, like when you're not eating, because when we're eating, we like shoving down our emotions and we're getting some satisfactions. Find that taste in something else. Find something that like really you enjoy. Like I've started like painting. I've like it's been like since like 20 years ago. Like I actually bought some brushes and watercolors, and like I actually feel so good. So find something to calm you down if you do it in your family and you don't live anywhere. Like to seclude yourself because remember it's not their fault that you're on a spiritual journey. They used to you normal when you're showing your emotions. So
Okay, cool, cool. So pretty much my last question, or one before the last, as a family marriage counselor or a couple counselor, I would like to hear from you what it is exactly marriage counseling, couple counseling, and who needs it. But just think, could you please try to explain it like as if the person doesn't know anything about it right from the beginning? What is that? Who needs it? What is the process about, etc.?
Hmm. I'm I don't like the word need as much because there's like the force to it. But overall, I think anybody can benefit from a good relationship counselor. And by good, I mean there's different aspects. What I practice is emotionally focused therapy for couples. I find it is the one that creates the emotional intimacy and brings actually couples together. It doesn't like work on behavioral, what is very surface level, so it's works more on a deeper level. Um, but like if I would personally like if there's that ickiness, if there's that emptiness, if there's that if you don't feel fulfilled, if you kind of question, like if you get you together and things are good, then you do everything else good together as far as the chores and the kids or like everything, but there's like something missing and you wonder what, and then every now and then you get in arguments and maybe they're not too loud and maybe you're not fighting, but there's something missing, and sometimes you don't feel heard and you don't feel understood and you really want to get your relationship to that next level. I think it's really great to seek some additional like help, and it's not there's a lot of stigma that comes with counseling where people think, oh, like something must be wrong with us because we go to counseling. Like we're not strong or we can't like get it solved together. No, no. You can go and get brushes and paint your wall yourself, or you can get a professional to do it. They'll do it faster and it will be just, it would look nicer. Can you do it yourself? Yeah. Like I do it myself. I paint my walls myself. But then I also go and do things like I pay like professionals to get some stuff done because I value my time and the service. So there's no shame. There's shame associated, but if there's that need and you have like you're thinking about it, there's definitely so much benefit for you personally, for that person, but also for the growth of your relationship, for sure. And don't wait till it's too late, because when the word divorce come to the table and you start thinking how you're going to separate, I mean, yeah, sure, you can still come to counseling then, but a lot of times, not a lot of times, about 50% of the times, it's not salvageable. At this point, you grew so far apart, you've in so much pain that it would take so much work for both of them, and it's not fair to therapists because the therapist will go right with you in your journey. So it's very difficult. So don't wait till it's too late. and it's better to get a consultation. Like, think about like cleaning for your teeth. You get like routine cleaning and you brush your teeth and you don't get cavities. It doesn't have to wait till you need a root canal and maybe you can't even save the tooth at that point. So yeah, if there's the wants to have more intimacy, like emotional intimacy and closeness, I think it's a great place to start.
I see. I see. Yeah, that's very inspiring. So now towards the end, maybe you could give us one or two life situations that you encountered with your clients and how exactly you help them solve or advance in their particular situation. Something that comes to your mind.
Uh-huh. No, I think it's very, I don't know if I can answer that question because I don't help with situations. Um, People do come with situations, or they will, like what we call it clinically, a participated event, like something will trigger them to come. Um, a lot of times it would be the divorce, or like talking about some of that, but I'm sorry. But overall, people have that when people come, they say, we just need to learn how to communicate better. And maybe it is about communication. For me, it's about the emotional, like understanding their own emotions. As far as how I help, like, is what I would describe, I think, today within an hour is to, we identify the attachment styles, we identify the cycle, we work within the cycle, we develop the trust so they can actually trust each other to share the pain when other person present with the therapist first, and then later with themselves, so they kind of reshape the landscape of their own relationship. That way, I have the couples that have worked and completed everything and didn't drop out, because it's a process. It's like an 8-step process. Right now, like I have two, they're doing like extremely well. And like the last session we had wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear, but your picture got frozen.
Okay,
Now it's back again. It's
okay,
back
good.
again.
So like, so they came from with like almost fist fighting and not knowing where the relationship going to be. I think they're getting married this August, and we were done with therapy in November, and like we all cried from this gratitude and how their relationship has grown so much. And now they able to like talk to each other and resolve things on their own in a very like a deep emotional connection and very fulfilling, um and knowing what's going on with them and with each other and in the cycles. So it's very moving for me. Like it's like couples work is the hardest work for a therapist, because it's like 3 times harder, but it's so rewarding at the end. So I don't know if that's the question, but that's the answer that I got.
Yeah, absolutely. You answered it perfectly. Okay, Anna, so if anyone of the people who are watching this video would like to contact you and maybe to be interested, people who are interested in improving their marriage, their relationships, how could they do that?
I think you post my website, so the website is good. Wait, don't. The contact form is not the best on the website to contact, but or it is. I do read it, but the phone number, I think it's a WhatsApp group, or my phone number, texting me or calling me or emailing me, or even going through this request a free consultation button, whatever. It's all good. It's all done online, also in person, also. So I'm available for that. But it's also great. I think it's
Very
so good Okay, I just want to say thank you so much for your questions. They were amazing, and I like you have such a talent to bring stuff up. And actually, I was able to talk about like really cool, important things, and hopefully, are very user friendly also. And I didn't go into like a clinical too much. I forget sometimes that but like it felt very good to share this, and I'm
Yes,
hoping this is our can be very helpful for people that watching to embrace that information. And I'm not here to advertise my services. I'm really here to share, and very passionate with people changing like lifestyle and incorporating fasting, and like a relationship is really my passion with the children and with the partners. So like I'm so glad that I'm able to share that with anybody who would watch it.
absolutely, absolutely. So once this video is on YouTube, I will post it in our fasting group, and then if people have more questions, they will post it there, and we'll try to answer them.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for this enlightening talk. Bye bye.
Bye.